Hello, everybody. It's the old bear from the old bear's den of Bigfoot. And, tonight we have, uh, we have something special for you. We have the lady behind the, YouTube channel, Buckeye Bigfoot. And, I'm going to make a, small plug before we get started. And, the, Tennessee, Texas, West Virginia Squatch Out on September 4th and 5th. It'll start at noon on the 4th, and we'll probably end on the 5th about 6 or 7 o'clock. And I hope everybody can come to it. It's at Thunder Rock Campground, and we would love to have everybody come. Everybody that comes to watch tonight and everything, you're more than welcome to come. Uh, there'll be shirts there, decals, stuff like that for you to pick up if you want. And if you want to, you can maybe go take a chance and go do some squatching with some of us on Saturday night. And Sunday morning will be a church service at 10 a.m. I'm going to hold that. My wife's going to sing. She'll be the better part of the church service, of course, as always. And we hope everybody just comes and have fun. It's a family to get together. It's a chance to meet us and us to meet y'all. We'd love to have everybody come. So let's get right into the lady behind the channel and the myth, and we'll bring her in. And there she is.
Hello, hello.
We are so glad to have you on here tonight.
Well, thank you for
Um,
inviting me. I was looking forward to this.
well, I'm glad. I'm sure that every one of the viewers that are on right now are glad to finally meet the lady behind the myth of Buckeye Bigfoot.
I didn't know there was a myth.
Well, uh, you know, your your channel is one of the most watched channels here at my house, and my wife and I we enjoy every one of your videos. And we watch them, and my wife will she kind of gets on to me sometimes because uh, you haven't put a new video out in the last 24 hours. So she loves watching your channel, and I love watching it too. I really do.
Well, thank you. I know, gosh, I bet it was a year ago. I walked into one of your interviews with some other people, and I'd actually been watching your stuff for a long time too. So I had no idea you would even know who I was when I walked in. That's the funny thing. So
Mhm.
I was thrilled when you reached out and wanted to do this. So I'm glad. And tell your wife I said thank you. She can keep pestering you all she wants, about my videos. So.
Well, you have nothing to worry about there. She does do that a lot. She
Does
wants
she?
to. She loves to watch it.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, um, Nance, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Let you answer each one, and I'm going to start with a tough.
Okay.
Everybody wants to know: have you ever seen a Bigfoot?
I wish I could say I had, I think, but no, I never have. I've never seen anything. I've never been out in the woods and heard something that I think sounded like a whoop or a Bigfoot scream. Never heard a samurai chatter. I've been asked all kinds of things. Well, didn't you hear something one night? Or yeah, who doesn't go in the forest at night and hear something, right? But do I think I've ever heard anything that could possibly be a Bigfoot. No, no, not even remotely close.
Hmm.
I'd like to lie, but I can't.
Oh, no, I don't want you lying. I just want you to tell them the truth, and that's the best way to do anything. It's always tell the truth.
Yep.
Um, well, how far are you from Salt Fork State Park?
We've been there. I think it's about 3.5 hours.
Hmm.
So give or take. I think it was about 3.5 hours. That's east of Columbus, as I recall. My husband did the
Yeah.
driving, but it's about 3.5 hours from me. So it was about 3.5 hours.
Well, if you want to take time and come to Salt Fork State Park, uh, the 27th and 28th of this month, there is the Southern Ohio Bigfoot group. That is, they have a thing over there on Saturdays, one
Okay.
Saturday a month. And Friday night, we're going to be up there. We're going to take our camper and go up. And if they want to go squatching, we're going to go squatching on Friday night.
Oh my
And
gosh. So what do you do when you go squatching? How long are you guys out there? What do you do? What do you encounter?
well, it depends. I mean, sometimes you can find them pretty easily in that area because there's quite a few Bigfoot in Salt Fork.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've been there when I was younger. Uh, when I lived in Columbus, actually, uh, I was over there quite a few uh, nights a year. Probably 20 nights out of the year, I was in Salt Fork, uh, and it was always fun to go because you always heard something, either a howl or they would come in and check you out and grunt at you, or sometimes they would growl at me. They didn't like me too well, I guess. But it's always, and you might be out there 3 hours, you might be out there half the night. You know what I'm saying? It just
Yeah.
depends on what you want to
Well, that sounds like fun. I will definitely be checking my calendar.
do.
That sounds like fun, and it's something close enough that we could do.
So I'm pretty sure there's no. I mean, we're going to camp, of course. We're going to stay there Friday night, Saturday night, and then they have their meeting about 7 o'clock on Saturday. So if you want to show up for that, that's fine. And then afterwards, maybe we can get some of them to go out for a little while.
Well, sounds like fun. I'll definitely check. Is that Labor Day weekend? I'll have to check.
No, that's the weekend before Labor Day.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll check, but that's a possibility. It'd be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, especially if
Come,
one walks up and you can tell what it is and it's standing right there in front of you. Just don't
have you
turn
had
and run.
have you had that happen to you?
Uh, More times than I want to talk about. I've seen 30 of them over the last 30 plus years, well over 30. And it's sometimes I wished I wouldn't have seen the ones I saw, and sometimes it's just a family group like you would find, in society today that's out in the country or something. And not all of them are mean. Uh, a lot of them, they have an attitude towards us humans. But when it comes to some of them, they have an attitude towards us humans and just don't like us.
So they're just like us humans then. I've always said that. Some are really, really, relaxed and cool and non-threatening. And then there are others. They were born angry. They were born angry and hateful. So that's what it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah, that's basically what I found. And it's fun to go out and try to learn about them, and it's fun to go and have a little bit of interaction with them. But the problem is sometimes they don't want to have that interaction that night, and they'll throw rocks at you, or they'll push a tree down, or something like that. And when that happens, it's best to back out. Just go back to your camp, or go home, or do something other than going out and balling the Sasquatch.
That's what it sounds like. I'd leave. Something throws a rock at me, I'm out of there. So,
Well, Nance, let me ask you a question. Um, how do you go about getting all of your encounters that you put up on your YouTube channel?
well, it's actually become an organic thing that's grown on its own. When I started, one of the first encounter I ever did on my channel were actually my cousins, the ones that I called Chris and Jenna. I grew
Mm-hmm.
up knowing them, and through her, she had this is long before the internet. She had somehow managed to network and find other people through the years that had also had encounters. And a long time ago, I was able to speak with a few of them and get their stories, and I've held on to them. Then one year, I went up to Salt Fork for a Bigfoot convention,
Mm-hmm.
and just randomly, just talking to different people. And I ran into more than one who said, "Yeah, I've had an encounter." I'm like, "Well, who'd you tell?" Nobody. Why not? My employer, my this, my that, my mom,
Mm-hmm.
my husband will use it against me in, child custody or whatever. So I found people were willing to talk about it. They didn't necessarily want their name put on it, if that makes sense. I mean, things
Right.
are very different today. I mean, attitudes have really changed an awful lot. And I think a lot of that is due to the internet. You know, 30 years ago, if you had an encounter, who would you call? What would you do? You didn't know who to call. What, the news station, your newspaper? You didn't know about Bigfoot unless you went to the library and looked him up. I mean, the wealth of information and knowing that there were so many thousands that also had seen, heard, or had an encounter, you didn't have that. You felt isolated. And then along comes the internet, and you find out you're not the only one, and
Right.
people start talking more, and attitudes change. So the point was, through Jenna, I met people. I met people at Salt Fork at the Bigfoot convention. And several months went by, and my husband and I kept talking about it. And this idea was born. I'm like, maybe I'll tell them. I just, things were changing. And I was hearing more and more about Bigfoot. Now Bigfoot up at Salt Fork, before most people knew it was there. We're hearing about it now. And next thing I know, I took a leap and I bought a little cheapo microphone off of Amazon, and yeah, I didn't know if anybody would listen to some chick sitting in her basement with a microphone talking. But I told those, and what I did was I had 12 when I started. I had 12 encounters. That was doing one a week. That was 3 months. I put the call out then for other stories. I thought, well, if I don't get any in 3 months, that's a sign. There aren't as many out there as I think. And it was not very long until, pardon me, my cat keeps trying to jump up here. It wasn't very long until I started getting, it was a small trickle, and then they started coming. And, there have been times that I've gone like weeks and not had anything credible. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness I had saved 6 or 7 or whatever, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll get feast and famine. Then the next week you'll get like 20. And I'll hold on, and those will get me through the next 5 weeks or whatever. And they come and they go, but now it's a lot more regular than it was in the beginning. So I'm grateful for that. It's funny when you really put it out there and you start asking. Very often you're going to get those kinds of encounters. Now, not all of them are the most credible, of course. That's just going with the territory. Um, but that isn't to say that they're not true either. I don't like to make that call, but so they do come.
Well, I'm glad to. You have such a large uh, fan base. You know, I get a few in here every now and then. You know, through an email or something like that. I get most of mine by talking to people when I'm out on the road and stuff like that. And I'll tell you this: whenever I started doing this, you know, I had already listened to other people's channels, and I was like, I'm only going to tell the truth on these. You know, if I don't think that it was credible, I'm not going to put it out, and I still don't. And but I love listening to what you put out there. You have a certain way of telling these stories and these accounts uh, that just brings out. It puts you into the moment of when these people see these Bigfoot, and I would love to learn how you do it. I really would.
I I'll tell you exactly. I mean, as you can tell, books behind me. I'm a big reader. I have been since I was very, very
Hmm.
young. Um, I had a lot of trauma when I was a young child that required a lot of healing. No, not abuse. It was just think no car seat belts for children back then. You know, bad things
Mm,
happened. The point was, I spent a lot of time recuperating, and books were my favorite thing. And my mother would always challenge me to read them out loud. And because I also had to work a lot to learn certain speech patterns again. And, of course, you can't read a book without getting into the book. And I do the same thing with email. When I get these email encounters, I'll read them through sometimes, gosh, 4 or 5 times. And I'm trying to envision where were they at? What were they feeling? Where is the real scary thing here? And it's not always what you would think. It's not always that moment you see them. Quite often, it's the moment when you've seen them, but now you don't see them. That's even scarier to me. So I read them like the way I would feel them, I think, if I was there. I mean, that doesn't always work, but um, I don't know. I try not to read them. Pardon me. I try not to read them like a newspaper bulletin style. I don't want to read them. Somebody said something the other day about being I was reading like to a fifth grade class. I don't want to do that either, but I don't want to do them flat and without emotion because these are emotionally charged encounters, no matter how brief. I've never had anyone, even when they're, 100 yards away and they see it, it isn't about fear. It isn't about being scared per se. It can be emotionally charged just seeing them 100 yards away. That visual confirmation, these things do exist. That in itself is emotional. It doesn't have to be fearful. So, I don't want to read them like I'm reading a newspaper or that I'm a news anchor. It's not exactly story hour either. I know a lot of people think it is for them, and it is for them, and I'm flattered by that. But I try to give their words the weight where I think it deserves them, if that makes sense.
it makes perfect sense, and you
And I
do it
apologize,
beautifully.
and I keep apologizing for moving because my cat keeps trying to get behind me, jump behind me. He sleeps behind me. He keeps pushing me forward. So I apologize. I should have shut the door. So um,
Uh,
as for reading them, I'm glad you guys enjoy them. I really do. That was my only goal to start with. Again, I didn't know if anybody would listen, so I wasn't out to make money. I don't know anyone that's gotten rich. Well, I don't know. Maybe some people on TV, maybe, but I'm not rich from this. I'm not rich from my day job either.
hmm,
so, so that was not the impetus for this at all.
right. Yeah, I understand what you mean by not getting rich. Um, we don't make hardly, and when I say hardly anything, I'm talking. I might get a check every once in a great while after. putting all these, letting YouTube put all their commercials and stuff in here. And, I've discussed it with my wife, and on average, I don't think we ain't even got to $1,000 yet, 2 years. So uh, we're still way below 1,000. But it's not because of the viewers. It's because I kind of try to limit, the ads. I think the story is more important than you know making money from this stuff. And I don't make money from it. The money that I take, I actually use to go out to do. Somebody's got a problem with the Bigfoot, or the Bigfoots come to their house, and they're standing there looking in their window at 2 o'clock in the morning when they flip the light on in the kitchen because they want a glass of milk or something like that. And that's what the money gets used for. And so, yeah, I know what you mean. You're not going to get rich off of doing this.
No, pardon me. No, I'm not saying someone couldn't. I'm sure they could, but I don't think we're the ones getting rich from it right now.
No.
So I do it for the love. I'm sure the same as you. I mean, you've also had your experiences that gives a pretty hefty weight to it, but I do it for the love. I mean, I do it because I have a lot of fun with a lot of the people that I speak to. Made lots of literal almost friends from this. I mean, what gets any better than that? I don't know. I love it. So,
Well, you went to Tennessee here recently, and you got to
uh,
meet Cam.
yes.
How was the event that you went to? And tell us a
Can
little
you
bit about the private
can,
side of Cam.
can you tell by the smile? Gatlinburg, pardon me, Gatlinburg was a tremendous event. I had never done a convention before. I mean, uh, in terms of running a booth or being on the other side of the table, I've always been a guest out in the crowd, just like everybody else,
Hmm.
and it was eye opening. I met so many people, and I was absolutely stunned and blown away. That night, my husband and I were talking. He's like, "Did you hear how many people kept saying they drove 5 hours just to see you? They drove, so far just to meet, and they didn't know if they were going to come, but when they heard that Cam and you were going to both be there, then they were going to go. They
Hmm.
could meet both of you, and Cam was really incredible to get to know. Of course, it's one thing talking on the internet. He's very much a what you see and hear is what you get. I mean, he's very personable. What you get in those videos, that's not an act. That's really how he is. His wife was wonderful and lovely. I wish I'd had a little more time to spend with them. And people were just lined up halfway down the convention just to speak to him. He was
Hmm.
incredible. It was really incredible. A merchant across the way from us did not show up. So the event organizers from the Gather Up Events place came and put the lines, the truncheons that so people could zigzag back and forth across from the table. And basically all they were doing was waiting in line to speak with Cam. It was just incredible. And I had a lot of fun. I met so many people. Gatlinburg on its own is beautiful, but when you're there for a big event, and it was really weird then walking around like the next day before we left, I'd bump into someone. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're that lady." Me? Yeah, yeah, okay. I mean, it was really it was very surreal. I'd never had that. It was just a lot of fun. David Politis was there. I was a little disappointed I did not get to see him. His line was always way too long. We had so much going on at our table. The one time I did walk around trying to look at all the other things and other people,
Hmm.
his line was, way all the way down the convention center out the door and like half a mile down curved.
Yeah.
There was just no chance. It was really, really, I can't say enough. I saw some incredible merchandise. Um, I had matter of fact, the other week I just put up the video of Dixie and Ethan, these two children whose father and them had stopped. They were telling me their whole story. I'm like, whoa, 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 back up. Can I do this on camera, Dad? And he was like, yeah, sure, okay. Those two children told me their story, and it was just incredible. These two children just, it was just like that. I was constantly getting stories all day. And I wish next year, if I do it again, one thing I'm going to do is set up a camera just for that, because it seemed like every third or fourth person, they wanted to tell me their story face to face. And that was hard when there were lines of people, but I really wanted to hear their stories. So gosh, how can I sum up Gatlinburg? It was just incredible, incredible. The event organizers were saying next year they were going to try to hold it in the basement. That sounds creepy, but it isn't. It's really nice, and they can hold like twice as many people that way, because that
Mm-hmm.
event sold out pretty early. And I think they said this was only their third or fourth year. I don't remember. It was sold out like months ahead, even with COVID, people not knowing if there'd be an event. And they were just, I think, blown away too. So very popular event. Highly recommended. A lot of fun. Fabulous. Fabulous.
Yeah, the only thing I've ever got to see of Gatlin, Tennessee was the power plant down there.
Oh, really?
I've never got to go anywhere in Gatlin. Um, I had a story down next to the power plant down there in Gatlin, Tennessee. They got a steam plant down there, and there was an encounter with a Bigfoot that happened real close to the plant. And in fact, it was a person that works not doesn't work for the plant, but at the time was in the plant that I was there. And that's all I've ever got to see of it was the back roads to the plant, and that was it. Never got to see anything else. And we wanted to go so bad, but when by the time that I'd heard about it and knew that we were going to have the money for tickets and everything, they were sold out, and that was 2 or 3 months before the event. So,
Well, I'd never been to Gatlinburg ever before. I'm probably one of the few Americans that lives in the Midwest who never vacationed in Gatlinburg in her life. All my neighbors, all my friends, my sister, everybody, they've all gone to Gatlinburg, but we just never have. And I regret it. And, in Gatlinburg, I'm going to say one last thing about it. We all knew they were devastated by the fires a couple of years ago.
mm-hmm.
You can still see evidence up on the ridges that
Yeah.
there's still scars, but Gatlinburg has come back very strong. It's really come back. So I was glad to go. It was wonderful. I'm going to go again.
Well,
Definitely.
when you go next time, let me know. When you find out you're going to go to the event, let me know, and I'll get my tickets at that point, and I'll come down and I'll help you go through all the people want to tell you the story. Be glad
I
to
would
help
love
you out.
that. I really would love that. I really would. I think Cam's probably going to be doing his own thing next year just because
Hmm.
of the volume of people that wanted to speak with him. And so, I don't think we'll be sharing a booth. We didn't know what we were getting into. We just kind of did it off the cuff. We were talking last year, and I'm like, I don't know which one of us said. It might have been me. I said, "Hey, there's this thing in Gatlinburg." Next thing I know, he's like, "Do it, girlfriend. Let's do it. Dial it up, or whatever." And next thing I know, that afternoon, I'm getting uh, reserving rooms, buying. It was very off the cuff. We'd never done it, so we didn't know. We just went in halvesies on a booth. We didn't know what else to do. It's not like we were invited as guests or anything. We just wanted to go and meet some people and talk, and that was the only way we knew to get our foot in the door. So,
Well, it sounds to me like you had loads of fun doing it,
oh
and
yes.
those and I love those two kids telling you what happened to them. They said when they ran into a Bigfoot. I love that one. That was a great video.
Yeah, I think I missed some great ones from other people. And like I said, I'm going to remedy that next year. I had a lot of people who did want to tell a story. So maybe that's something we can work on next year.
Hey, let me know. I got a camera lady that would love to do it.
I'd love to have
She's
her do
she's she might be running four cameras at once, knowing her. So
it.
she's just talented. So Nance, is there anything that uh, when you do your videos, is there anything if there's somebody out there wanting to start doing what we do, is there anything you can give them a piece of advice that you can
Do
give
your
to them to help them out?
You need to do your homework and really set up your uh, I don't want to call them infrastructure, but like I said, I thought about it took me months because I had to decide who my audience was going to be in terms of you know I I wasn't going to talk to school age children. Obviously, I what were they going to want to hear? Could I deliver that? What format? Everything down to logo. I know that sounds stupid, but right out of the gate, that actually becomes really important. That becomes your identifier. People know you as
Yeah.
Old Bear. If you picked, Red Fox or something. I mean, it really does make a difference in setting up your infrastructure because that is going to be your persona as far as starting.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're going to want to check your competition. Absolutely. Just mind your P's and Q's, get everything together. There's a lot to say on that. I mean, you've got the creative aspect that you really need to work on and decide how you're going to put it together. What are you bringing to the table that's different than, say, Old Bear's Den of Bigfoot, Cryptid Canada, I can't even think. I mean, of course, like me and like Cam and Bigfoot Case Files, and I mean, the Midwest Bigfoot research. I mean, there's so many.
Hmm.
All of them are so different. That's the thing you have to decide. What are you going to do? What are you bringing to the table that's different? Because there's going to be an audience. Like they say, build it and they will come. That's very true on YouTube. As long as you've got something good, somebody's going to seek it out. They really will. I think personally. I know I've had a couple of people reach out to me. I tell them the best I can. Study the YouTube algorithm. That's a huge, huge thing for YouTube. Um, because I've seen some really good channels that I don't think get the suggestions and the views that I think they should get. So sometimes I really don't know. I can give all these suggestions, and sometimes I really don't know why some channels just don't seem to pick up momentum. And then others, I'm kind of like, what are they doing that's so amazing? I don't know. So just do your homework, really have it together before you start. Don't, at least have an idea what you're bringing to the table, you know, which format you're going with. Are you going with hardcore research? I mean, really, I could talk for hours on this because there's so much to consider. Everybody does it so differently. Just be good at it. Really, have fun. I'd say that's the number one thing. Have some fun. If you can't have fun with it, if you're all serious, nobody's going to want to hear that. Nobody wants to hear it. Everybody wants to hear me talk about snackage because we all love our snackage every day, and have fun with that. So, yeah, I know. So, yeah, have fun. Have fun with it.
Well, I got one thing to say to you, Nance, and that is when you tell us to get our snackage, you have made me put on a few extra pounds. I hope you know that.
Well, I've said over and over, I've gained a lot in the last year and a half. I quit smoking January 20th, 2020, right before
That's
COVID
awesome.
hit, and then we're all stuck in the house. Boy, did I have crazy
Hmm.
timing on that one. Uh, so yeah, the snackage, I've definitely gained some weight myself, and I'm learning you can have healthy snackage. I mean, you can have, I love, my favorite is apple slices with peanut butter on them. I go easy on the peanut butter, but snackage can be healthy. I love kettle
Well,
corn.
hmm
I said it
well,
can be.
well. There's my snackage is cinnamon rolls,
Ooh.
um, buttered popcorn, Snickers bars. Gotta have the Snickers. When I sit down to listen to your channel, I gotta have a Snicker every time. And and then I'll throw in a Reese cup or. And when you say healthy snackage, does that mean I have to put it down sooner, or can I finish them all?
Um, I won't put any parameters on what's healthy and what isn't. I think we can all decide for ourselves. So, and I've had people leave comments, I'm diabetic, but I save my carbs all day for the snackage when I listen to
Mm-hmm.
Buckeye Bigfoot. I'm like, oh my gosh, don't do that. But, you can find something good and healthy. I don't know. Get you some sugar-free Reese cups or something. I don't know if they make them. I don't know. So,
You're taking all the fun out of it, Nance. You gotta have the sugar in there so that way it'll make you bounce off the walls. My wife loves when I do that.
well, let me tell you what my husband has threatened to do. He's threatened to eat his snackage on the treadmill while he's listening to Buckeye Bigfoot. That's what he says. He's like, tell them to get on the treadmill while they listen to you. Uh, yeah, I
Mm,
don't know how that would work.
mm.
So,
I don't think cinnamon rolls would do me any good on the treadmill. I'd have
yeah,
icing everywhere.
you'd be in trouble if you dropped that on the treadmill and step on it. That I wouldn't want to clean that up off the treadmill.
I never thought of that. I don't think that
Yeah.
would be a good thing.
Yeah.
We got a cat. She loves Our cat loves to eat people food more than she does her own food. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure she'd probably go and clean it off for
That could be something bad waiting to happen. The cat on the treadmill trying to get to the cinnamon roll. There's a comedy
me. Yeah.
waiting right there to happen and a sad
If
tragedy all in one. So,
if it if it happens, I'll video it and I'll send it to you.
okay, deal, deal. So,
So Nance, I like I said before, you know, to me, you're a celebrity. You're one of the celebrities out there. You do an awesome job in your videos. You do everything right, and uh, I, I can't tell you enough how overjoyed I was to get your email saying, "Hey, um, let's do this." Um, so, is there? Do you feel like taking maybe some questions from the viewers and
I'm
seeing what they
sure.
have to ask you?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay, guys, if y'all want to ask Nance a question, please put them in all caps because, as you can see, I've got glasses on. I'm getting old, and I'm not fast with these things. So just take it easy on the old bear.
And the
His reaction time ain't fast. I'm sorry, Nance. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I said, and the old lady on the other side over here. Yeah.
Oh, would
You
you stop with that? You're not that old yet.
well, we're not going to talk about that.
I know better than to ask a woman's age. I'm old school.
I'm not ashamed. I'm 51. I just turned 51 last month. So, yeah.
Well, I've got you by a couple of years. Here in what is today? Today's the 13th.
Yes.
I got 11 more days and I'll be 53.
Oh, there you go. See? And I meant to say something. Of all the days you asked me to do this, you picked Friday the 13th.
Well,
Will you
Friday the 13th doesn't worry me for the simple reason is uh, I'm not a witch. Uh, I don't worry about those things.
oh,
I let the Lord take care of it. So I just do it whenever He tells me best to do it.
well, that'll work.
Uh, we have a Steve wants to know: do you have any Ohio Department of Natural Resource reports about Bigfoot or
I
dog men or whatever's out there.
I do not have anything directly relating to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Um, I believe lately they are putting out their own videos.
Mm-hmm.
Someone mentioned to me, I had linked one of their videos where I discovered they were discussing, um, by all intents and purposes, seemed to be embracing the idea of a Bigfoot in Ohio. But no, I don't have anything directly to do with them. But I've been very encouraged by the things that I've seen and heard from them. You know, they're not saying there is one or anything like that, but what they are doing is definitely allowing that there is a possibility. They're not going to
Mm-hmm.
ignore it. Um, they understand that, I think it actually helps them to promote that idea. It certainly brings more visitors to the parks in Ohio, and elevates a profile that the Ohio Department of Natural Resources is actually you know they're very proactive about it and they're open to talk about it. So I find it all very encouraging. But no, I'm not connected in any way. I don't have any of their reports or anything like that.
Well, Meg made a statement, not a question. She says, "Oh my gosh, Nance, you're not old. Oh my, you're both youngins." I don't feel it, Meg. I don't feel a youngin.
Yeah, I was gonna say my body disagrees with you when I try to get up in the morning. It says, "Oh
Yeah.
no, old lady, we ain't doing this again." No, So, and bless you for whoever you are. Have you not seen all this gray? I just, which I wear happily. I'm okay with it. I'm really okay being gray.
Well, at least you can lean over and show hair.
That is true. I can do that, but so
Uh, yeah, Meg. We don't feel the youngin part anymore, so we're we're past that point. Uh, is there anything, Nance, that have you run into problems with people sending you emails that are telling you that there's no such thing as Bigfoot, stuff like that? Have you run into that too?
I have, but not so much an email. They don't want to do it privately usually. They want to try to be vocal in the comments section. I have a very good moderator, Lily Munster. Um, and what I don't do, I'm okay if people want to question or they say, I don't think that's probably likely. But again, if you're respectful and dissenting, I'll allow that. But I'm not going to have people, and they come in and they say, everybody's an idiot who believes this or something. I don't allow that. No. Um, but usually they try to do it publicly. So, and if they disbelieve, that's okay. That's on them. But I'm not going to let them down talk people who have taken the time to send me their encounters, because for a lot of people, it's almost traumatic to do so, or cathartic, or both. And I'm not going to have them go read in the comments these awful things that people say. And so, you know, but it doesn't, they
Yeah,
don't come to me in email too much privately. They want to be recognized. So, and
right.
I don't give them air to breathe on my channel. I'm not doing it. I got better things to do.
Got a for you, Nance. Steve, the one that asked the question earlier about the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, he says Steve Isdall tells great stories. He could use Nance's storytelling school, though.
Um, I would disagree. And I'll be real honest and I'll tell you why. It goes back to what we were talking about 10 minutes ago. Everybody has to bring something different to the table. I could not run my channel and read encounters the way Steve does. I couldn't do it like Lynn at Bigfoot Case Files, and they can't do it like me. I wouldn't want them to, and I wouldn't want to do it like them. So, I think, and I watch Steve. I watch How to Hunt. I
Mhm.
mean, he's a straight shooter. He doesn't need to tell a story. He's not doing that. His whole angle is completely, he, again, what you I expect. I don't know the man. I've never spoken with him, but he seems to be like Cam. What you see is what you're going to get.
Right.
Okay, he's not telling no stories. But I appreciate what Steve says. I understand that was kind of nice to say, but I think Steve Isdall does his own thing, and Cam does his own thing. We all do so. I don't want anybody to sound like anybody else. Then it'd get kind of boring, wouldn't it? I can't imagine
Well,
Steve
yeah.
Isdall's story. No, I can't imagine it.
Mhm. Um, Sonny wanted to say, he said, I need to send you my encounter in 1970 on his dad's farm. Uh, so how would they get a hold of you to send you that, that encounter?
The email is really simple. Just send it to contact@buckeyebigfoot.com. Just the word contact at buckeyebigfoot.com, and it comes straight to me. So
Um, Nancy has a question for you. How long does it generally take you to put a story together uh, before you start recording?
that can vary a lot. In the first several months, I had to do an awful lot to put a story together. People weren't as forthcoming, and I would get like I can remember. I think it was my third or fourth story that I put out, and what I got was a tiny paragraph, and it just said, "Me and my brothers camped out in our backyard in a camper, and we saw a Bigfoot." Okay. Then I had to go back and forth about 40 times in email and on the phone. So, what were you doing out there? What happened? Why was there a camper in the backyard? And what do you remember about this? And, little by little, they remembered all sorts of details. And it was very
Hmm.
labor intensive, but it's what I had to do to get the story. And that took a long time. And then there's the whole editing process. Now that people are sending encounters in pretty much more or less complete from beginning to end, I'm not having to pick at what did you mean by this or whatever.
Okay.
I do light editing basically to make sure you can read through it. If you ever
Hmm.
want to know um, if you what you've written is correct, all you have to do is read it out loud. Just read it out loud to an empty room, because when you do that, your mind will not be able to pick over and fix things that it does when you read silently. Your mouth can't follow. So you'll find out quickly if verb tenses have changed or whatever. So I do a lot of that to make it readable, um, because people type as they think, and it doesn't always translate to how you speak. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
um, so yeah, it can vary. I can spend as little as 20 minutes editing a set of 3 or 4 short stories, like the one I put up tonight. I think the finished video was 24 minutes long. I spent probably 2 hours going over the stories, editing, making sure they were readable, because a lot of times they'll send them in on their phone too, and the phone removes all format, so it's like one big one big block of text, no beginning, no
Hmm.
end, no punctuation. You don't know if it's a run-on sentence or so I think today it was about 2 hours to do those stories, about an hour of recording and fixing mistakes, probably another hour to put video and audio together. I'm not real fast at it because I'm always going back in case I've missed something when I go along my Word document. Um, most videos will take me about 3 to 4 hours, sometimes more. I've had some stories take me literally a day, 8 hours of working on just trying to fix it or texting them, what are you trying to say here? I don't understand. So it
Mhm.
varies. Long answer to a short question, but it can really vary.
Yeah, I love the way you do it. I mean, I wished I could get uh, whenever I go out and get stories, from truck drivers. These guys they're on their 10-hour break and they're wanting to hop to grab their food and grab a shower and head out to the bunk. And a lot of times, if I'm at a truck stop and I mention something about Bigfoot, uh, I usually end up having one or two guys follow me back to my truck and me sit down in the truck and taking notes while they sit in the passenger seat and are telling me their whole story. And I listen to them and I try and I do my best to remember everything. But I've learned that you always want to make sure you get their phone number because
Oh,
there's
yes.
always something I miss.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, in email, it's not so bad. I can usually just email them back. Some people give a
Hmm.
text. 90% of the time, I never need it. But yeah, always in that situation, because you may never see them again. You definitely would want to get that number. Yeah.
Um, Meg wants to know, do you ever get stories of other cryptids like dogmen?
I have gotten dogmen, a handful. I would say in the 2+ years, I bet I haven't gotten 10 stories of dogman. Otherwise, um, no, I don't think I've gotten anything else. And I have really been kicking around the idea of maybe another channel, maybe some other cryptids. I don't know. I mean, we're not far here in Ohio from Point Pleasant, the Mothman. Um, I was a kid who grew up, I got interested in Bigfoot from the old Leonard Nimoy In Search of, when I was a
Hmm.
kid. And that opened the whole world. I mean, there are so many unexplained things, creatures. I don't know. I wouldn't be adverse to getting them. Now, a lot of viewers don't want anything. They want 100% Bigfoot and nothing else. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Who knows? Maybe I'll do another channel because I'm interested in a lot more than just Bigfoot. A lot more.
Well, you start a Dogman, other Bigfoot, other cryptids channel, and I'll send all the ones I get to you
That
because
would be wonderful.
3 or 4 months I get somebody, wanting to know about Dogman or a werewolf or some kind of a lineman or something, that's a cryptid, and I'm like, I deal with Bigfoot. I've dealt with them for so long, and I'm like, man, I don't want to. Other cryptids scare the daylights out of me
Really.
because they really have long teeth and they don't have a great reputation. So I kind of stay with Bigfoot.
But could it be because you've already encountered Bigfoot and like you said, if they throw rocks and stuff, you know when to back up, you know where the borders and the boundaries are, you know their behavior. You haven't had that with other cryptids. Could that be part of the difference?
Well, yeah, um, and also whenever I was helping a gentleman here in West Virginia, uh, I ran into uh, what they call dog men, and ran into two dog men and one that resembled a werewolf. Looked like the quintessential werewolf from Underworld, and I didn't get a good feeling when I saw them. And sometimes you got to go by your feelings out there, and that's why I stay away from
That's smart. I would too. I would too.
them. Dee wants to know, did you get a chance to walk around when you were in Gatlinburg on the trail?
I did actually. On the trails in Gatlinburg.
Hmm.
No, no, I didn't. We never. we got there on Friday, and never having been to Gatlinburg, we got into our hotel, and um, my husband and I spent that day walking around, just doing shopping and stuff. And we were so exhausted by Friday evening. Matter of fact, Cam and his wife got in Friday evening, and they got in a little later than we did. And he called up to, because we said we're gonna go have a drink together or whatever. I was already passed out. I mean, my husband had to tell him she's already gone. It was like, I don't know, 8 o'clock. Okay. So I was absolutely I was wiped out. And then Saturday was the conference. And after the conference, you have to pack up. And then we went out and we had dinner. Again, by 9 o'clock, it felt like it had been an 18-hour day. And Sunday, we had to drive home. So, yeah, we never got out on the trails, I'm sorry to say. But that is something I want to put on my next trip to Gatlinburg. And there's going to be another trip, convention or no convention.
Hmm.
Gatlinburg, the environs, the Smoky Mountains, absolutely stole my breath away. And I spent a lot of time growing up in Southern Kentucky, in Corbin, Kentucky. So um, I'm not immune, or I don't take for granted, those big, beautiful mountains. We had them in Eastern Kentucky too. But the Smoky Mountains are a little different, and they're incredible. But I do want to go on the trip. I really want to get out and see some of that countryside. It's absolutely breathtaking, just beautiful. I'm sorry I didn't get to go this last time.
Well, John has a question for you. He wants to know, has your husband ever seen a Sasquatch?
Has my husband ever seen a what?
Seen a Bigfoot, Sasquatch?
Oh, no, 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 no. He supports me in all my endeavors, and he does not disbelieve, but he's not as crazy about it as I am. I think he's getting more crazy about it as this goes along. Like, he's the guy now where he works. He's drinking out of like the Buckeye Bigfoot stainless steel mug. And
Mm.
he's told a few of his coworkers who I am and stuff like that. Whereas probably 5 years ago, no, he wouldn't have done that. But 5 years ago, he had a different employer who was, probably a lot less open to things. But yeah, no, he has not had any experiences. My husband is, if I'm the balloon up in the air, he is the salt of the earth. We are absolute
Hmm.
opposites. And he's Mr. Steady. He doesn't fear, ghosts or walking around in the dark or any of that. He's just pretty chill. He's pretty chill though.
Well, if you come over to Salt Fork, both of you make it on that weekend, maybe we can get one to scream at him from 50 feet away.
Well, if you could, that would probably completely re-energize everything in this house. So yeah, he'd come back. He'd probably be a different man. He'd be a knower.
Well, we'll do our best. If you make it over there, I'll do my best to see if I can't get one to scream at it pretty close.
That would be
Um,
lovely.
no, the only thing I can tell you is if you're uh, weak in your continence, wear a diaper.
I think we're okay there. We say we're old, but I think we're okay on that. So,
Um, I've had young guys that's been out with me and one scream at us from 50, 75 yards away, and they they lose control of. They got to go to the restroom. Is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes just they don't make it. So, but what I want to ask you is uh, do you think if you never get to see it, never see a Bigfoot, will you still be doing this in 5, 10 years from now?
oh yes. Oh, yes. I hadn't seen one all my life, and I just started 2 years ago with this channel, but it never stopped me. I mean, I know, again, you can't see into these bookshelves back here, but they're full of books on cryptids and lost civilizations and Atlantis
Mm-hmm.
and Mothman and Loch Ness Monster. And yeah, it's a lifelong thing. I don't have to see Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster or Mothman to still have a sense of incredible curiosity, wonderment, and just belief. It's never going to change.
So, is there any subject that you want to cover about your channel? Something that you would love to tell everybody about? You know, about you or your channel, or at all.
Um, I'll tell you something most people probably don't know. I won't say shy, but I actually have anxiety a lot of times about talking to people and in front of people. So this channel has actually helped a lot. Going to Gatlinburg made me confront a lot of that and made me a lot more comfortable. Um, my point with that is that that's actually, I think, part of what's really helped the channel because I try really hard to make these connections with people, and that's the whole thing for me. I like a lot. I love the Sasquatch. I really do. I take them all personal. Um, I was overwhelmed in Gatlinburg. People that were just walking up and giving me gifts. This was given to me in Gatlinburg. I've got stuff all over. Somebody gave me this. They just walked up and gave me this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I like you said something about that I was like a celebrity. I don't feel like that. I'm just kind of me hanging out in my office doing my thing with my cats.
Mm-hmm.
And the channel to me is this. I don't know. I'm not sure. There's so many things to say, but the Sasquatch's everything, and I love them all. I love them all. Nothing really revealing, I guess, to say. I'm just me.
Yeah. Well, how did you come up with the name for your viewers of the Sasquatch?
I don't even know. I think one day I was trying to record, and you try to say something and it comes out like a tongue twister. I think I was trying to say a Sasquatch, and I was saying a sassy Sasquatch. And the next thing I know, I was like a Sasquatch. And I listened to it when I was editing, like the Sasquatch. What's a Sasquatch? That sound, it just clicked. So it was a mess up of trying to say Sasquatch. And I'm like, it just clicked. I don't know. And then I realized I have a Sasquatch. It's a whole squad of my people out there. So, yeah.
Nayoka would like to know, how do you feel about the Bigfoot being able to mind speak or to make you feel absolute peace? Do you have any feelings on that?
Can you repeat that question? I only heard part of it.
Sure, I can. And I can even put it up on the
There
screen
it
for
is.
you.
Oh, okay, great. How do you feel about Bigfoot being able to mind speak or to make you feel absolute fear? I am convinced that it really can happen for a lot of people. Um, just because it doesn't happen to everyone who encounters Bigfoot, I'm not going to discount it. Um, again, just because I haven't encountered it, how can I say this is real and this isn't? How do I feel about it? I'm sure it can happen. I think almost anything's possible under the sun. And I do think they definitely can. Uh, I've heard enough that I do believe they can warn you away from certain areas. There was another lady that sent in a story to me. She has her own YouTube channel. I
Hmm.
think Bigfoot Whispers Hub, and she had Mind Speak with one, I believe. Still does. So, you know, maybe even if I saw one, if it didn't happen to me, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna discount it. Like I said, how can I sit here and say things are real or not real? Who's an authority? Nobody. I think that it would be neat if they can do that. I think it would be incredible if they're going to mind speak with anyone. I'm going to guess they're 10 times more likely to speak with Native uh, Americans or First Nations people because they have thousands of years of history together. So I believe it. I believe that that is. I've had a couple First Nations, now that I think about it, insist that up in Canada they have had, you know, mind speak with Bigfoot. I am definitely going to believe them. So I don't know if that answers it for her, but for him, I couldn't remember the name, but yeah, I do. I believe it.
Well, dude from Texas wants to know, have you heard of any Sasquatch types that have double rows of teeth?
Ooh, no, but that's frightening. That's frightening. That's like, why would you need more than one row of teeth? I mean, we're talking like sharks. That's scary. I don't, I can't even hardly contemplate that. Um, I mean, I have not gotten any reports about anything like that. No,
Have you ever had a report of one that's got teeth just like a shark? I mean, the
no.
jagged, sharp. Okay.
Well, okay. I've gotten reports that they say that they have large incisors or canines, as they'll sometimes call them, that are sharp. I've seen some people in their reports, and it's funny because I'm talking to you. You've probably opened your mouth 100 times. I've not even noticed. I couldn't describe your teeth, but a lot of people really can describe a Bigfoot, probably because they're focusing on the jaws, but you know, they are very descriptive that they're blocky, that they're sharp. I have seen
Mhm.
reports, people say that they're very sharp looking or that they're very long teeth.
Well, I can I can say a little bit about uh, the type of teeth I've seen. I've seen the ones like everybody says, they look like huge chiclets, pretty much.
Yeah.
Human teeth, and I've seen those, and I've seen ones that have the protruding fangs that either come out of their lower lip or they come out of the top and go down. And then I've seen the ones that look like they're a shark. They got broken up teeth. They're all sharp, and they scare the daylights out of you when you run into that type.
I hadn't really ever gotten a report about that, and I can see why that would be terrifying. Utterly terrifying. I wouldn't, no. I've often said I wouldn't mind seeing a Bigfoot in a car moving fast with binoculars, and the Bigfoot's a couple hundred yards away. I'm okay with that. I'm too
Oh,
old to outrun a Bigfoot. I'm too old to outrun stuff.
come on, Nance. You got to see them at 20 feet and then stand there and look at you in the broad daylight at 20 feet. You got to be able to do that. It's fun.
Let's go back to that diaper thing because I'd need it. I'd need it.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. When I saw it, I didn't have time. When I first saw one at 16, that's what I saw. You know, 20 feet away, standing there looking at me. It walks out, it turns, looks at me, and stands there and starts going. "Arr." So I didn't have time to get afraid. Um, I was taught by my brother. He was he was in the Air Force. Uh, he taught me, to stand my ground, and don't run because if you run, then you got trouble. And my dad taught me that. My uncle taught me that. You know, we have bear here in the state of West Virginia, uh, and I was always taught don't run from a predator. Well, this thing looked like a predator, so I'm like, can't run. I gotta face it, and if I run, I may not get back to my dad. And that was what I was wanting to do, was just get up and go to my dad because I was scared, uh, but I couldn't show it. And when you see him at 20 feet, it does put a little bit of fear in you. Now that I've seen as many as I have, it still puts fear inside of me. I still remember that first time. You're never going to forget it. And once you see one, it starts to change the way you believe about things and you know what could be out there, and it really changes you for. It throws you for a loop. A lot of people deal with it. Uh, and I've talked to people that's had experiences when they were in their 20s or 30s, and now they're 50 years old and they've never spoken about it to anyone. They ain't even told their wife or their husband or any of their kids because they're afraid. And you give people an outlet through your channel to get their story out there. And and you know, it, I can't say enough. If it wasn't for uh, people like you, Cryptids Canada, Steve Isdall, uh, Carrie from Bigfoot Odyssey, Cam. There's a bunch of channels out there that are giving people the way to get rid of this fear they've carried with them, and it's actually the fear that they have. They know now that there are things in the woods that are not what we're told. You know, there's not just deer in the woods, squirrels, chipmunks, you
Right,
know,
right.
pretty little bunny rabbit. And people like you that tell a good story, you let other people know that they're out there. And I applaud you for it. I really do. You do an awesome job of it, and I'm uh, I'm just amazed at how well you can do it, and tell it with emphasis where it needs to be emphasized, and you do a wonderful job, and
Well,
I
thank
applaud
you.
you for it.
Thank you, and I really appreciate that. But there's so many people giving voice, and it was something we touched on earlier with the internet. People don't feel so isolated. They're not so alone. You know, 30, 40 years ago, if you saw one of these things, who are you going to tell? Who's going to believe you? And you would be the
Hmm.
one lone kook in your city, or whatever. Now there's thousands of people that can network. I'm just a little tiny cog in the wheel that helps bring people together. You do a lot on your end as well, make no mistake. Um, and we're all doing something to help propel this forward into a realm of, I don't want to say legitimacy because it's always been legitimate to me, but
Hmm.
bringing it a little more mainstream, making it less laughable, because that is one of the things that I've heard from so many people. They were afraid of ridicule. They were afraid of the blowback from a spouse or an employer. This is really, there are a lot of things in the world today that are completely normal now. No one bats an eye at. But 40 years ago, it could have gotten you fired. And I don't mean just Bigfoot. I mean, everything socially has changed.
Hmm.
And this is just one more thing. And I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see people are not so afraid to speak.
Well, I was one of those people back 30 years ago that everybody called crazy. Uh, I was looked down upon a lot of times because of it. Uh, but I knew back then if I didn't do what I did, going out and investigating Bigfoot, trying to figure out what they were doing, what they eat, how they live, and all this stuff, uh, and then progressing over to where I was helping people, get rid of problem Bigfoot. I wasn't out there to kill them, but I'd find ways to get them to leave.
Right.
And, I developed that over a 30 year span, and I had to use it. But, I was ridiculed, uh, not only by people that said they were my friends, but I was also ridiculed by, family, extended family. They would give me a rough time about it. And nowadays, that's all changed. I don't get a rough time anymore. So, you know, people like you with your channel do a service for people that have sat back for 30 years and done this stuff, and you give us an out, an outlet to get it out there, and I applaud you for it. I can't tell you enough. I really, I mean, it's
Well,
just you're great.
I'm glad, because again, I didn't do any of this to get rich. Nobody's getting rich here. We've discussed that, but and it is connecting with people. People's experiences shape their lives, shapes everything, and a very momentous event like encountering one of these things or seeing it or literally walking up on one, that shapes an awful lot from then on. Nothing is ever the same. It is like a thunderbolt of lightning hitting you. It's never the same. You're never the same. Everyone I've talked to, it's a before and it's an after thing. Their lives have a clear line of demarcation from then on. Nothing's ever
Hmm.
quite the same. They don't drive down the road. They don't drive through a forest like we all do. Oh, look at the pretty trees. We're in a beautiful park. No, they're looking at it from a different perspective. To them, it's not just a forest. There's other things out there. And it's, like you said, it's not the chipmunks and the squirrels and this and that. There's a whole new awareness. And it's a little, some people I've noticed seem to be okay with it. And other people, they're never okay with it. So, we're all trying our best, I guess, just to help people through. Help people through.
Yeah, yeah, I can attest to that. Uh, my wife will go out in the fall or something like that and drive through the hills of West Virginia, and she looks at the tree leaves, the collars and the streams and all this, and I'm looking for Bigfoot structure. She wants to go somewhere and stop, and I want to take pictures, and I'll see an X or I'll see something that says "Don't go here," in the in with the Bigfoot, and I'll go, "Nah, we're not stopping. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna put her into where she can, be put in danger." And so, yeah, it does change you. It changes the way you look at everything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone I've talked to, no one's the same. Not one person. And, talking about looking at everything differently, years ago, my husband and I, when we would look at a house or something to move,
Hmm.
we looked at the land, we looked at the house, we looked at, things we wanted. Now, in the last year in particular, we're looking at moving again. And the first thing my husband and I look at is that Bigfoot territory? Because a lot of Eastern Ohio is very squatchy, for lack of a better term. And, we're looking at moving towards that way, possibly. I mean, not too far, but you know, we've looked at Adams County, we've looked at some other places, and you know, and the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm going to check the BFRO website. Yes, I know everyone hates them, but they have a great wealth of reports, and I don't overlook
Hmm.
them. I know people like to throw the baby out with the bathwater on that one, But, real people stepped forward and gave those reports. And there are so many BFRO investigators that really give it their all. I'm not going to dog them and I'm not going to promote them either. But I go to their reports that have already been taken, and I often look, how close is that house to some of these, And so, yeah, I mean, even that, we don't even look at a house without considering, could I be buying some Bigfoot land too? I mean, because you never know. You never know. So that
Well,
nothing's the same.
Nance, if you and your husband decide to move, give me a call. Tell me where you're moving, and I'll tell you how many reports I have from that area. So you
Deal.
make your mind up for that.
Yeah, absolute deal. Because I'd be okay with it as long as I didn't have an aggressive one. I mean, I'd be okay with it. I'd keep them nice and peaceful. I'd leave them alone. I'd leave them alone. So,
So if there, I'll give you a signal. If there's bad ones there, I'll stutter a lot.
okay. That's good to know. I will definitely keep that in mind. I don't want any bad ones. I won't buy that house, that's for sure.
Yeah. When I moved back from Ohio and moved back here to my parents' home uh, to come and take care of my mother before she passed, there were no Bigfoot around my home. Guess what I have around my home now? I've got Bigfoot around.
Yeah, you drew one in.
Well, no, I didn't draw him in. I never screamed. I never done none of that stuff here at the house.
You
It's
don't have
it's
to do
like
that.
they moved in,
He knew you were there. You didn't have to do any of that. He knew you were
probably.
there. Yeah.
Well,
I do
we have
I
an
do think they
understanding.
are attract. I do think they attract to certain people. I really do. I don't know why. I have no explanation, not even a theory. I really do think that because they do seem to turn up for certain people repeatedly, and then other people never. So there has to be something in that. It has to be more than just luck. And then there are some other people that I think that they seek out where they live in their homes. So yeah, I think they knew where you were. Yeah,
It
maybe
wouldn't
not.
surprise me.
Because you started seeing them when you were very young, so they were already aware of you.
Yeah, I am part Cherokee, and I think that has a little bit to do with it. Uh,
Absolutely.
my great great grandmother was full blooded, so uh, yeah, she was a full blooded Cherokee, and if I had hair, you would know I had dark hair around here, but then it would be red on top. I don't know how I got the red hair on top, but the Cherokee did show up a little bit, and now it's just turned white. So
I, I do think that there's a connection. Um, I think it's too strong to ignore over and over again. You listen to Native Americans or the First Nations, or you know, they can't all be telling the same lie. It doesn't make any sense. They have legends going way, way back. And when I say legend, to me, it's more like an oral history, a lot of them. They're not known to lie. That's just not their culture from everything I've ever encountered. So, you know, I got to believe them. That's the bottom line. I believe them.
well, uh, is there anything that any upcoming events that you're going to be at or that you would like to let everybody know about?
Um, no, actually, I've been looking at some more conventions. I hadn't booked any more or done anything because I didn't know how Gatlinburg was going to go. And now that Gatlinburg went really well, I was going to toss a few more out. I did get invited to one, I believe it was in West Virginia. and I believe it was in September. I cannot recall, but they were
It's the
actually
last part
together.
of September.
I'm sorry.
It's a later. It's in late September. I think around the
Okay.
21st or something.
Um, yeah, I think that that sounds about right. They were actually in Gatlinburg at the convention. I remember seeing their booth. I'm pretty sure. And I had to tell them no only because it was such a short notice for us and trying to get vacation and juggling all of that with me and my husband. And, it was just too short a notice. Maybe next year. I would like to do some more conventions. I was going to look at a few, and I don't know if Cam's up to doing more. I don't know. He's got a day job that's his bread and butter, and like all of
Hmm.
us, and so we can't just always drop everything. I'd like to say I could. I'd love to. So if somebody's out there getting ready to run a convention, you want some extra vendors, or whatever. Let me know because I would absolutely love it. I had a lot of fun. I really did. It was a highlight of my year so far. So
Well, you could always come to Tennessee to the Squatch Out.
it's possible. I've been to Tennessee just a few weeks ago, so
Well, it's at a campground, and there's Bigfoot local right there on site.
you sure know how to convince a woman. I got to tell you.
Well, I had to convince my wife, so I've had a little bit of experience.
I do want to start getting involved a little more in the community. I used to say I was the Bigfoot in the Bigfoot community. People had heard of me. Almost no one ever saw me. A few said they saw me, but I was highly elusive, rarely photographed like a Bigfoot. And but I don't know. Now I feel a little more comfortable, and I wouldn't mind getting out into the community a little more. I've just always been solitary because I never knew anyone except my cousin. You know, I didn't know anybody. I
Hmm.
wasn't a researcher. I'm a nobody. I don't have any credentials or anything like that. I'm not so young anymore. I don't go traipsing into the woods very much. I'm old and arthritic, and I don't, I need an air mattress to sleep on. I can't do the hard ground kind of thing anymore. And so, I don't know, but I would like to do more events and get to meet more people.
Well, we can definitely find you a motel room to stay in close by.
Sweet.
Um, we can do all that. We can get you all set up, and you
When
don't have
is
to
it?
worry about setting up a September 4th and September 5th. It'll start.
Uh,
That's Labor Day weekend. I know.
I'm thinking that's gonna be tight. I'll have to look. I'm still thinking on the other one on the 27th to get up to Salt Fork. I'll have to check with my husband. I keep thinking there's something going on, but I can't
Well,
remember.
I mean, if it, I wanted to extend the invite to you uh, because I love the way you do your show, and you're a great lady. And what you were talking about earlier, where you're getting out more, you're meeting more people now. That was why I said the lady in the myth at the beginning of the show, because
Oh,
nobody had seen you until here recently. So,
yes. Um, yeah, yeah. So I guess the myth thing fits. I didn't think about it like that in the beginning. I'm just me. I'm just here in the basement or here in my office, and I just do my little recording. And um, I guess I was pretty disconnected, and I had an awakening in Gatlinburg that I didn't know that many people. I mean, you see subscriber numbers and stuff, but that doesn't tell the story of what kind of people or what people think about you, really. People can click subscribe. It don't mean anything. What's that?
mhm.
Nothing. But when they're going to drive or show up, that's something a little different. So I was really shocked, genuinely um, overwhelmed. So, but I would like to see more people. I really would. I enjoyed that. From the very beginning, I've said connecting with people and talking with people, that was one of my skill sets, despite the
Hmm.
anxieties or whatever. But I like talking to people.
Well,
Definitely.
Nance, we've been here for an hour and a half. I just now looked at it. We've been on here for an hour and a half. And if there's anything at all that you would like to say to people out there, uh, I don't care if you beg them to subscribe, whatever. Uh, I'm giving you the last comments, and then we'll shut it down for these.
Um, First of all, I want to thank everybody for showing up. And if you stuck with us for an hour and a half, kudos to you. Thank you. Thank you. Because I didn't think I had anything interesting to say. I didn't know if anybody would show up again, just like when I started my channel. If you haven't already subscribed to Old Bear's Den of Bigfoot, please do so. This guy rocks. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Um, and, if you have an encounter, send it in to him. Send it to me. Something. Don't keep it to yourself. Those days are long gone. And just thank you for showing up. You guys are the best. Ain't no doubt about it. And always remember, absence of proof is not proof of absence. There.
All right, Nance. We're gonna end the show, ladies and gentlemen, and we're gonna leave Nance on here. And I want to thank all of y'all for coming. Y'all have been a wonderful, wonderful bunch of friends tonight, and may each and every one of you be blessed, and may God watch over each and every one of you. Thank you again. Y'all have a blessed night, and bye bye.